first console Star Wars Battlefront game in a decade. While I appreciated it being back, the game received tons of backlash for the restriction of only original trilogy content, not much by way of progression, and no single-player campaign. EA and the developer behind the game, DICE, promised to solve these issues in their next title, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Launched on November 17, 2017, Star Wars Battlefront 2 addresses multiple issues from the 2015 game while also creating some new ones. One wouldn't think it'd be possible to create more controversy after the last go-around, but this is EA we're talking about. As much as I'd like to just go in and start talking about why I think the game is good, unfortunately I have to address the vamp in the room. In July of 2017, DICE revealed that unlike the 2015 game, Battlefront 2 would not have a $50 season pass. All of the DLC would be free. Fans rejoiced, as now you'd only have to pay $60 and get all additional content free. However, there was a catch. DICE also said because they weren't going to have a season pass, the game would include microtransactions. The internet got suspicious as to what EA was up to. Would it be simple cosmetic items such as different armor colors for clone troopers, or would it create a pay-to-win environment? Unfortunately, it was the latter. Loot crates in the game could either be bought with credits earned in-game or with crystals bought with real-world money. In these loot crates are star cards, which are used to upgrade your soldiers, starfighters, and heroes. The more loot crates you were able to buy, the more star cards you could obtain, giving you an advantage over players. After the open beta in October 2017, DICE removed certain star cards and weapons from the crates in order to balance the game and make sure it wasn't a pay-to-win. The internet was somewhat appeased. On November 14, 2017, the game was available for those who purchased the $80 Elite Trooper edition of the game, which allowed them to start playing 3 days early. Almost immediately, there was an uproar. While the loot crate system had been changed, players noticed that certain famous Star Wars heroes were locked behind a credit wall. Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker were 60,000 credits each, and a Reddit user tabulated that at the rate one earned credits in the game, it would take a player 40 hours to unlock just one of the two. DICE responded to this uproar by saying that they wanted players to be accomplished by earning their way toward Luke and Vader, but this statement only earned them the most downvoted post in Reddit history. In response to this, DICE decreased the amount of credits it took to unlock heroes by 75%. Darth Vader and Luke went from being 60,000 credits to being 15,000. Still, the internet was not satisfied. More people ran calculations on how long it would take to unlock everything in the game and how much extra money one would need to spend on loot crates. Calculations ranged between 3,000 to 4,000 hours to unlock everything naturally, and close to $2,000 if you wanted to just buy it all. This caused even further uproar. While it's not 100% confirmed who made the decision or why it happened, on November 16th, EA shut down all microtransactions in the game, saying that they would work on the progression system and reinstate the microtransactions at a later date. The internet rejoiced, but remained cautious. Because of the wording of the statement, some speculate that EA is just turning them off for a few weeks to let the storm blow over, and then turn them back on with limited to no changes. I don't believe that will happen, however. If rumors are true that Disney themselves told EA to stop generating bad press, then I doubt they'd be dumb enough to not change anything. Also, Hawaii and Belgium have ruled that the way the microtransactions work in Battlefront 2 constitutes as gambling and are working on legislation to ban the game. I doubt EA would just turn the microtransactions back on without change if it meant that they'd be against a law. As of the writing of this review, the microtransactions are off. So, with all that said, now let's get into the actual game.
I've waited 30 years for this. I still remember my last orders. The day the real war began.
First, we'll start with one of the promised features, the campaign. Unlike its predecessor, Battlefront 2 features a single-player story campaign. Marketed as the untold story of Imperial soldier Iden Versio between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, everyone was getting pretty hyped for the campaign. Unfortunately, there are some big issues with it.
Impossible.
As much as I'd like this review to remain spoiler-free, I think the spoilers are kind of something that need to be paid attention to because they might affect purchases. So, if you really want to stay spoiler-free, then skip to this timestamp right here. Otherwise, well, let's get into it.
Rebellion. You will burn these ideas away.
Okay, so if you're still here, then let's just get it over with. Iden defects to the Rebel Alliance.
Raider!
Shocker. Instead of doing the risky, really cool idea of having a campaign solely based on the perspective of an Imperial and how they react to all the moments we as the audience boo their side for, EA played the predictable easy card and had the bad guy see the error of their ways and say, "I'm a good guy now." So, initial disappointment aside, how does the campaign fare? Well, it's okay. Just okay. Despite saying the game would take 6 to 7 hours to complete, which for reference is about the length of your average Call of Duty campaign, on its easiest difficulty, Battlefront 2 takes roughly 4 hours to complete. I did my initial playthrough on medium difficulty and it took me about 5.5 hours, just because I got overconfident in some areas and died for stupid reasons in others.
Oh, what was that? There wasn't anything there. Ah. I'm calling shenanigans on that one. You all saw it. There was nothing there.
You start out playing as Iden just before and during the events of Return of the Jedi. You witness the second Death Star explode and join the Imperial fleet as they plan their next move. Unfortunately, there's not much more than that. After an enjoyable mission securing a tie-in to the Shattered Empire comic series, you're thrust into the boots of Luke Skywalker.
If the Empire's here, what I sensed was true.
Okay.
Charging at me with a stick.
That would be fine if the mission were enjoyable. It takes less than 15 minutes to complete Luke's mission, and for half of it you're just swatting at bugs.
No, you don't. These bugs are kind of reminding me of the Insecticons from Fall of Cybertron. Not sure that's a good or bad thing.
There's at least some good character interactions with one of the Inferno squad mates, Del Miko, and it helps build toward what happens immediately after. But Luke's voice just isn't good. There's even a line where you're not sure what he even says.
I won't stop you from destroying this vault. Wouldn't you say the Empire's done enough damage to innocent worlds? Enough damage to innocent worlds? Enough damage to innocent worlds?
So this is where the game loses a lot of people, and I don't necessarily blame them. Iden's homeworld Vardos is the target of Operation Cinder, the last command of Emperor Palpatine. In the event of his death, the Empire is to use an array of weaponized satellites to stir up deadly weather on planets of his choosing. The thing is, Vardos is a world loyal to the Empire, so choosing it as a target doesn't make as much sense as Naboo does, which comes up later in the story. The only way I can rationalize why it would be picked is as a, "Hey, look at us, we're so crazy we'll nuke one of our own world, so you better not mess with us," type of move. Intimidation, basically. Iden and Del don't agree with targeting the Imperial world and rescue civilians, thus defecting. People have complained that it's a flimsy flip-flop for Iden's character and there's not much development for her to switch. While I agree that there isn't much development, I think that there is enough development to make it convincing. Paying attention to the dialogue and the cutscenes preceding the Vardos mission and the in-game dialogue during the mission reveal some very interesting things about the characters.
The entire planet and its people, they're loyal to the Empire.
The Emperor commands it. We'll purge this planet and others. Fear shall spread and the galaxy will remember who is in control.
This is our home.
The Empire is our home, and we will do as the Emperor commands.
The people of Vardos are loyal to the Empire. Why should they be left to suffer?
This is all for the greater good, Commander.
None of this looks good to me. Vardos was our home, Ask.
The Empire is our home. I've never seen anything like it. The locals must be terrified. This is just the beginning. When people see what we've done here, that terror will spread throughout the galaxy. I'm just surprised we aren't evacuating civilians. Civilians are expendable. Our people will evacuate first.
These are our people.
This is an Imperial world. A place we're supposed to protect. Civilians can die here.
We've put our troopers in harm's way as well.
They'll evacuate when ordered to. Their fearlessness in the face of this storm shows true discipline.
Do you even recognize the Empire anymore?
Please don't do this.
The
Just don't do
Empire's
this.
job is to save civilians from things like Operation Cinder.
This is the new Empire.
If this is the new Empire, I want no part of it.
Obviously, different characters believe in a different version of the Empire. Iden and Del see an Empire that helps out the little guy and provides peace and security for the galaxy, which is something they think the Rebel Alliance is opposed to. Coming from worlds like Coruscant and Vardos, it's easier to see that version of the Empire, and not the version that's devastated Lothal in Star Wars Rebels or blown up Alderaan in A New Hope. Agent Hask and Iden's father, Admiral Versio, obviously see a different side to the Empire. The side that's more prevalent. That side offers peace through an iron grip, one that punishes worlds for simple missteps and strip mines others to fuel their massive war machine. This is the true Galactic Empire, the one the audience witnesses firsthand through most of Star Wars media. The idea of an Imperial seeing the light defecting isn't something new. Finn deciding to defect from the First Order in The Force Awakens is a big plot point, and Agent Kallus in Star Wars Rebels has had a seasons-long arc where he eventually joined the Rebels after fighting for the Empire. I myself have been working through that idea in my series LEGO Star Wars Troopers, in which a stormtrooper defects from the Empire and his comrades are forced to give chase. It's a common idea, so I'm not surprised that EA has gone that route with their game. Is the actual moment of transition done well? Not particularly, but it's satisfying enough when one pays attention to the subtext of the scenes presented. After they defect, however, the game runs into more problems. After the defection mission, there's only 2 other times you play as Iden in the game. One is on Bespin, and the other, the Battle of Jakku. While the Jakku missions are done well, Bespin kind of crawls along and isn't the best designed. The other remaining missions in the game focus on playing as familiar faces from Star Wars lore. Princess Leia, Han Solo, with a beard, Lando Calrissian, and Kylo Ren make up the bulk of the gameplay after Iden and Del defect from the Empire. While it's a joy to play Lando's mission with its constant quips and general fun tone,
Well, thank you, buddy.
and Han's mission being interesting, I'd much rather learn more about Iden and Del and see how their transition into the Alliance is affecting them. When Iden and Del kiss in the aftermath of Jakku, I should be feeling something along the lines of, well, it's about time, or something, when instead I'm feeling, yeah, that was a thing. Considering the idea of the two of them as a romantic pair is really only set up with a few lines of dialogue during the Bespin mission.
I think it's cute you study a planet's wildlife before we visit.
This is something that's a pretty big problem if they're taking this where some people think they're taking this.
For what? Fatherhood.
You think she changed you? That your daughter changed you?
The campaign then ends on a cliffhanger you'd think would lead to a potential campaign for Battlefront 3, but it seems more like the campaign isn't over yet. In their list for the upcoming free DLC, EA has revealed more missions are going to be added to the campaign going forward, continuing the story. So here we are then. If you skipped this time in the video, then you might be surprised when I say the campaign is a solid 6 out of 10. If there's another 3 hours that will be added that will flesh out the story, that'll be great, but as is, the campaign is heavily flawed. But it's still a fun time in a galaxy far, far away. So now that we've talked about that, it's time to talk about the bigger aspect of the game, the multiplayer.
Alright, it's raining metal out there. Sepians are trying to take Kashyyyk and they want to keep our fleet grounded. We need to buy time to launch. So we'll let your transport headed for one of our cruisers. Take out the transport if you can. Grab an ion disruptor and tear it apart. Go!
5 modes are included in this game, ranging from meh to amazing. First, I'll talk about Blast. Blast is your typical team deathmatch game mode, and I would leave it at that, but there are some problems with it this time around. The core mechanics are fine, of course, but a couple of the game's maps are too large. The Death Star 2 map in particular isn't built for 10-on-10 combat. It's massive. You'll either find yourself hard-pressed to find anyone, or the entire enemy team is clustered together in a corner mowing down anything that gets close enough. It's annoying. Some of the maps need to be shrunk down, but otherwise it's your pretty standard fare. Strike is the next game mode. Strike is objective-based and features a team defending a singular objective from an opposing force. It's basically a one-way capture the flag. If the defending team manages to defend the objective, then they win the round, but if the attacking team extracts the objective, then they win. The first team to win 2 rounds wins the match overall. Battlefront 2015 featured 2 different hero modes, while Battlefront 2 only features 1. Hero Battles pits teams of 4 light side heroes versus 4 dark side heroes against one another. It's an all-out melee that requires the teams to attack a single target while defending their own. Whichever team takes out the most targets wins the match. This game mode is fine, but if one team is primarily made of lightsaber-wielding characters and the other blaster-wielding characters, the sabers will win because of the damage they can do as a group by spamming enemies and blocking them from moving. Something will need to be done to fix that. Next is Starfighter Assault, a much improved version of the Starfighter game mode from Battlefront 2015, and a surprisingly fun one. Two teams of starfighters clash in space or in low orbit, with one team defending a capital ship and another attacking. A slew of different objectives mark the path towards victory, and the improved Starfighter controls make the game mode really fun to play. My biggest and really only complaint with the Starfighters in Battlefront 2015 is that they felt like paper. The tiniest scratch from an enemy ship, it seemed like, would destroy you, and there wasn't much chance of evading. Battlefront 2, however, adds more of an emphasis on evading, as there's no longer an auto-lock feature. Players now have to leave their targets and not just hold down a button to lock on. Heroes make an appearance in this mode through their various ships, and are the most versatile craft out there.
Enjoy Oblivion.
Last is Galactic Assault, which is the premier game mode. A combination of the previous 4 modes, Galactic Assault takes place on large maps that, with the exception of the Death Star 2 and indoor maps, incorporate air-to-ground combat. By getting kills and completing objectives, players can spawn in as vehicles, heavy units, or heroes to help defeat the enemy. Starfighters will strike ground forces from the sky as they attempt to defeat objectives against the advancing army. An update to Battlefront 2015's Walker Assault, Galactic Assault takes the general format of one team defending stuff against an invading army and puts new twists on it, depending on the map. Unlike Battlefront 2015, Battlefront 2 features content from all 3 eras of Star Wars. Famous locations from the Clone Wars are featured, as are locations from The Force Awakens, and come December, crates from The Last Jedi will be added in as part of the free DLC. Much to my fanboyish glee, D. Bradley Baker and Matt Wood returned to voice the clone troopers and battle droids from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, adding a nice bit of continuity to the often overlooked TV shows.
I think we can even the odds a bit, Commander. Especially since they don't know we're here. This one here is mine. Ha! Big gun doesn't make a big man.
Reinforcements reporting. Open up.
Didn't say please.
Close. Get up.
Laying down coverage fire.
Good luck, turret.
Each map is beautifully authentic and fun to play on. Kashyyyk features the Grand Army of the Republic defending the Wookiee capital of Kachiro from the invading Separatist droids. The Starkiller base map has the Resistance forces attacking the First Order during the climax of The Force Awakens to free prisoners before the station goes up in smoke. And the Yavin 4 map shows the Rebel Alliance defending their computers from the invading Imperial forces that have landed following the destruction of the first Death Star. All the maps provide a great variety of gameplay mechanics and strategies and encapsulates the majority of my playtime. There's only one map I dislike, which is the Mos Eisley map on Tatooine. Unfortunately, it's not very well built for Galactic Assault, as 2 teams of 20 make the streets crowded, and as Star Wars' interpretation of Battlefield 3's Operation Metro or Battlefield 4's Operation Locker. The Imperials rarely get a chance to push up to the first objectives, and of the 5 or 6 times I've played on the map, we've only gotten past the first phase once. The gameplay otherwise is fantastic, and the addition of classes helps vary combat. There's your typical soldier, the Assault class. The Heavy class has heavier weapons and can do more damage, while the Officer class buffs teammates with a rally cry and has a variety of useful tools. Finally, the Specialist class acts as a sniper and can view people through walls with a magic pair of binoculars. Each class has unique star cards, which are unlocked by buying the aforementioned loot crates, with credits earned by playing the game. Along with the player's overall level, the more cards one unlocks, the more cards one can equip and upgrade. However, there's a problem with this progression system. You buy crates to unlock more star cards, but you don't earn that many credits by playing multiplayer alone. Given a person's ranking in a multiplayer match, they can earn anywhere between 250 to 400 credits, with a trooper crate costing 4,000 credits to unlock. This number does quickly add up over time, and getting credits by achieving milestones in the game helps, but after a while the milestones start to dry up, and you're not earning enough credits to help unlock more stuff in crates. This is where the microtransactions fit in, as you can speed up the process by buying crates of real money, but we know how that went. Worse, the loot crates are completely randomized, so you never know what you're going to unlock. After playing for some time, it could be possible to buy a crate and get nothing but duplicate star cards, which will be converted into a measly amount of credits. Daily crates are awarded for each day you log on, but these don't offer much by way of credits or crafting parts. This system does not work, especially if a player wants to save up credits to buy extra heroes like Emperor Palpatine, Princess Leia, or Darth Vader. Out of the box, Yoda, Darth Maul, Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett, Han Solo, Bossk, Rey, and Kylo Ren are available to play as without having to unlock anything. So anything you hear about having to unlock the ability to even play as heroes is misinformation. The arcade mode offers players the ability to hone their skills and earn credits and fun, easy 3-star challenges, but after 4 or 5 missions, you'll have to wait up to 8 hours for the ability to unlock more credits. Upon beating the campaign, a player will receive 9,000 credits, 5k for beating the campaign, and an additional 500 for every mission that doesn't feature a hero, of which there are 8. While seeing the 9,000 get added to your credit totals after beating the campaign is a nice sight, it doesn't last long. At this stage, that's what the progression system looks like, and it's a bit of a mess. I have faith that DICE will fix it and improve upon it, but only time will tell. With that, I've basically talked about every aspect of the game. So, what's the best deal? Well, back in 2015, I said that Battlefront 2015 was worth $40. So you'd expect Battlefront 2 to be worth more. Well, it is, but not by much. I'd say it's probably worth about $45. Like Battlefront 2015, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is gorgeous to look at. The music, when not being an annoying original score trying to sound like Star Wars but not too much like Star Wars, really adds to the game and makes moments of fighting off waves of droids and stormtroopers really exciting. The gameplay, despite the poor progression system, is very fun, and I know I'll have a fun time playing it for a long time. While the campaign isn't the best, it's still fun to play just for the Star Wars immersion, and a little bit of lore adds to the overall saga, and the tie-ins to the comics and novels. Battlefront 2 has issues, but at the end of the day, it's still really, really fun to play, and I really actually do hope that EA and DICE can manage to salvage the mess they've made. And really, at the end of the day, if you still don't want to buy it on the principle of the fact that it has microtransactions in it at whatever kind of form they end up coming back in, I understand that. And the classic Star Wars Battlefront 2 is like $10 on Steam, which any computer post-2009 can run with ease. So, you know, if you don't want the new Battlefront 2, just get the old Battlefront 2 if you haven't tried it out or don't have fond memories of it. So, yeah. There we go. That's probably the best deal you're going to find on this game at this state. So now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go blast some more droids.
Move forward!